How's it going, everybody? C-RadTV back here in our video, and of course, it's time for another Detroit Lions 2026 NFL Draft Preview. So in the last draft preview, we took a look at some of the Day 2 offensive lineman prospects for rounds 2 and 3 of the 2026 NFL Draft, and began the Day 2 portions of the draft previews. And this one, we're going to shift to the other side of the trenches and take a look at some of the top Day 2 defensive lineman prospects for rounds 2 and 3 of the 2026 NFL Draft. And take a look at some top edge rushers and defensive tackles the Lions should keep an eye on for Day 2 of the draft. If the Lions go and take an offensive lineman in the first round, whether it's a tackle or a guard, which that I think is the most likely thing they're going to do, but you never know how the draft actually plays out until the moment of truth on draft day. So take a look at some of these defensive linemen here, and let's see what names the Lions should keep an eye on. Let's go. So, starting off with edge rushers, the first one we're going to go over here. Hailing out of Clemson, standing 6'3", weighing 265 pounds, we got TJ Parker. So for TJ, he's your prototype speed edge rusher because his explosiveness off the snap has helped him continue his Day 2 momentum, despite a dramatic drop in sack production in his final year, but it does pay to have a winning trait like that in your reservoir. In terms of his strength, he has some really impressive run defense stats, particularly in his games against North and South Carolina, if you will watch some tape there. He's able to bottle up running backs by sending a good edge, winning against the tackle with tough hands and good power. Flashes great explosiveness, can win battles immediately if he catches offensive tackles off guard. Great flexibility, short area quickness, a loose athlete, good mobility near the tackles, good size, length for the position, shows an understanding of leverage, long arming lineman. Has some nice bend that helps him work around the corner. In terms of his weaknesses, though, he's just okay as a pass rusher. He posts some up and down seasons that may have been caused by mediocre coaching. Doesn't have moves that break down the hands of offensive tackles if he gets caught in a battle of technique. His footwork, lower body skill, it's behind the development curve. Generally needs better hand usage. Would need a coach willing to give him a rundown on how to challenge professional football players. Sometimes he gets thrown off balance if someone matches his power with their own power. Just does not recover particularly well from adversity during a battle on the line. In terms of his NFL comparison, he's been compared to Kwity Paye of the Indianapolis Colts. Overall, a lot of things to like out of his game. Has some good traits, some good speed off the line. You know, maybe someone to keep an eye on for sure. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Miami, standing 6'3", weighing 265 pounds, we got Akeem Masador. So for Akeem, he's your prototype leadership edge rusher because he's been a veteran on this Miami squad for several years. And it was with his help and leadership that Ruben Bain was able to become the first-round player he is today. But in terms of Akeem and his strengths, he's a master of tempo manipulation, lowering offensive tackles in the predictable sets before detonating through their footwork with surgical violence. Body control borders on gymnastic. He drops shoulder angle, eliminates blockers, contact surface, unleashes sun ice pick spin, can discard tackles mid-rush. Particularly lethal, winning the outside shoulder, dips underneath the extended reach of long blocks, compromising their anchor. Deploys from a 5-tech out to Y9 or kick inside the 3-tech without technical denigration. College football's playoff success, it showed a big game Hunter elevating against elite competition. 4 first fumbles, demonstrated punch and strip skills. In terms of his weaknesses, though, his age does present significant obstacles as a 25-year-old rookie with a limited development ceiling for teams prioritizing long-term investments over immediate impact. His medical history includes 2023 injury-shortened season, an upper body injury in 2022, which delayed his spring participation, and a foot injury in 2024. Lacks truly elite twitched out, get off, relies more on technical setup than raw suddenness to win the corner. Frank can be neutralized by sustained double teams, to relying on finesse wins. Spins, dips, leverage manipulation, needs better raw speed to power conversion, bull rushing through contact. Missed tackle rate suggests occasional over-aggressive angles. In terms of his NFL comparison, he's been compared to former Philadelphia Eagles edge rusher Cedarius Smith. Overall, a lot of things to like out of Akeem's game as a great locker room leader, but some injury history definitely raises some red flags. A lot of things to clean up too. You know, even though he is a locker room leader, I think the Lions could find better options than him. I'd say pass. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Michigan, standing 6'3", weighing 265 pounds, we got Derek Moore. So for Derek Strakes, highly productive player, finished his career on a roll, generating 10.5 sacks for the Wolverines. Possesses an ideal frame for a 4-3 defensive end. The strength and athleticism to make a seamless transition to the league. Stays parallel to the line of scrimmage while diagnosing, preventing himself from overcommitting. Converts speed to power without any hitches, which makes his only truly effective move a bull rush. Devastating in wider alignments. When he lands his punches, they hit like bags of concrete, shocking the blockers. Elite get off that forces tackles to set deeper. In terms of weaknesses, though, often plays with a high pad level as a pass rusher, which can lead to him getting stalled out. Also problematic is his pass rush is heavily reliant on a bull rush, rarely turns to the other moves. Lacks an effective counter move if he can't just plow through blockers. He's an old for a high ceiling prospect. He'll turn 24 during his rookie season. Could struggle to disengage with blockers defending the run, another area where he'll need to develop. Average diagnosis skill can lead to a situation where he misses out on easy tackles for a loss or sacks. In terms of his NFL comparisons, he's been compared to Kenny Clark of the Dallas Cowboys. Overall, a lot of things to like out of his game. Few things that are minor fixes that can be cleaned up, but I think someone to keep an eye on for sure. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Alabama, standing 6'2", weighing 274 pounds. We got LT Overton. So for LT strengths, he has the size and strength necessary to offer versatility across the line, potentially being able to slide inside on passing downs. For a big guy, has surprising lateral agility, allows him to stay even with his tackle and stretch plays the inside line. Comes down hard on pulling linemen, both recognizing the play and squeezing gaps shut. Cerebral and run defense, won't be fooled by the option or overcommit. Leg drive, overall lower body strength are great. Rarely moved off his spot one-on-one or against double teams. In terms of weaknesses, though, his stack and shed technique can be a bit spotty. Sometimes struggles to disengage with blockers after getting good extension. Was almost exclusively used in run defense. Wasn't on the field for passing downs, which leads to questions about what he can contribute there. Hand usage is inconsistent at best, which can prevent him from knocking away hands as a pass rusher, landing his punches. Extremely raw as a pass rusher when he did get opportunities. Generally did not play with a plan, and when he did attempt to throw a move and rarely won. He's also been listed as a player that might disappoint and could be a bust in this class because he has the pedigree but not the athleticism, and he's built on a large frame that might bring that dreaded tweener label in. In terms of his NFL comparison, he's been compared to Josh Paschal of the Detroit Lions. Overall, a lot of things to like out of his game, but struggles a lot in the pass rush and it was mainly exclusively as a one-trick pony to stuff the run. You know, would definitely be a gamble to take on him here, but you know, I honestly want more of a complete package for an edge rusher to complement Hutchinson, not just a one-trick pony. So I think there are better options in this class. I'll say pass. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Penn State, standing 6'5", weighing 265 pounds. We got Danny Dennis Sutton. So for Danny, he has his strengths. He has great hand placement usage for a young edge. Looks to have the technical polish to come into the league, making an immediate impact. Has a deep bag of pass rush moves, maneuvers to help him break down the tactics of O-linemen. Looks to have the frame, bulk, length of a top NFL edge rusher. Good run defender, finds ways to shed from strong hands, work his way toward the running lane. He shows flashes of good power strength without overcommitting. High motor player, works all the way to the whistle. In terms of his weaknesses, though, his athletic traits are extremely limited, and he just might not have the movement ability to make his way around offensive tackles. If they push him around the arc, he got outstepped and outmaneuvered by offensive tacklers who are on the level of guys in the pros. Doesn't finish plays well. His tackling form overall needs work before you can trust him to take his production to the next level. He's more stiff than bendy, doesn't have the closing speed to really pose a threat to running backs or elusive quarterbacks. In terms of his NFL comparison, he's been compared to Tyquan Lewis of the Indianapolis Colts. Overall, though, there are a lot of things to like out of his game. Has a lot of good technique to make up for a few issues. A couple things to clean up. But I think someone worth keep an eye on and taking a risk with. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Missouri, standing 6'5", weighing 255 pounds, we got Sion Young. So for Sion's strengths, top-tier run defender, closes lanes, uses length extremely well to wrap up and take down the ball carrier. Battles power with power really well, able to either push the interior O-line into the running back or break down a blocker entirely. Great bull rusher, too. Having one move that's nearly unbeatable puts him a couple tiers above the average prospect. Really high motor, finishes every play about as strong as he starts it. He sets the edge well on the outside, hard to get past due to decent ankle flexibility. In terms of his weaknesses, though, pass rush plan is basically the same as his run defense plan, so he really becomes a one-dimensional player that can be beaten pretty easily as long as the QB is able to throw while rolling out to one side. Lacks in twitchiness and explosiveness, signaling a limited athlete that might not ever be a top-tier edge. Doesn't use his hands nearly enough to do much winning at the professional level. Arrest on a DWI charge during the winter before the draft might knock him down. In terms of his NFL comparison, he's been compared now for retired Jacksonville Jaguars edge rusher Bobby McRae. A lot of things to like out of his game, but, you know, there are some character issues with his record with the DWI. And I think that will take the Lions off because the Lions usually don't like to take risks with anyone that's had a history with the law. So I think with Zion, I think that's a pass. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Tennessee, standing 6'3", weighing 240 pounds, we got Joshua Josephs. So for Joshua's strength, great length for his frame, allows him to get more leverage than most players his size. Arm stretch 34+ inches, uses them well. With a good long arm move that helps him get separation from the tackle before using his natural athleticism and close in on the QB. Doesn't seem to have a maxed out frame. Could put on enough pounds to play in a more traditional edge rushing role. Explosive, reactive off the snap in a way that allows him to get quick pressure and position himself to make an impact on the offense. In terms of the weaknesses, though, sometimes gets pushed around by guys on the interior when he has to work on the inside. Can probably should add more weight in order to maintain his composure as a power rusher. Has trouble working around the corner due to tightness in his hips. Should find a way to improve his agility and to make use of his athleticism. Not great in run defense. He's more of a pass rush specialist than a well-rounded player. Didn't make plays didn't play that many snaps while at Tennessee. And there may be questions if he can handle more work. In terms of his NFL comparison, he's maybe compared to Tack McKinley at the Atlanta Falcons overall. A lot of things to like out of Joshua's game. A few things to clean up, but I think someone to keep an eye on here for sure. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of UCF, standing 6'4", weighing 247 pounds, we got Milwaukee Lawrence. So for Milwaukee, he's your prototype top technician edge rusher because he has some of the longest arms in the class. He's developed numerous ways to use it to his advantage. Long arm rip moves are just a couple of tricks he has to get pressures. In terms of his strength, top athleticism, twitchy movements indicative of his background as a tight end. Consistently wins as a pass rusher with a success rate over 20% the past 2 years. He pressured the QB 68 times between 2024 and 2025. He uses long arms to rip and flip through blocks. Flexible with agility to slide and explode to close. Bends to get under reach blocks, explode into the backfield. Sturdy holding up as the edge setting to funnel action back inside. Hits with force when he squared the ball carriers. Also been listed as one of the top sleeper picks in this draft class because his teams jumped him up on the board due to his arm and frame length, which checks the prototype boxes. His film as a power rusher could make him a great fit in defense that empathizes stopping the run. In terms of his weaknesses, though, he's washed out by power in short yardage situations, missed a lot of tackles relying on long arms and natural ability. Explosive in times to snap well, but slow to react to plays away from him. Tight-hipped in coverage, has limited range to drop in zone. Weight, something to watch. He was listed at 270 as a true freshman. Spent 1 full year on the scout team, then redshirted. In terms of his NFL comparison, he's been compared to Jason Pierre-Paul of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Overall, a lot of things to like out of his game. Does a lot of things right with technique. I think someone to keep an eye on for sure. And the last edge rusher we're going to go over in this video before we move on to defensive tackles. We have hailing out of LSU, standing 6'6", weighing 255 pounds. We got Patrick Payne. So for Patrick's strengths, outstanding length, extends disruption radius, arm reaches the blockers early, maintaining separation while swatting down passes at the line of scrimmage. Hip and ankle bend superior for getting around the arc when he accelerates upfield. Changes direction fluently, works counters back inside when a tackle is over, commit outside. Very pass rush toolbox includes long arms, swim, and spin moves. shows technical awareness, exceptional pass deflection instincts, diagnoses zone runs quickly, maintains gap integrity. Pursuit range covers good ground as backside defender. He fits both a 4-3 defensive end and a 3-4 outside linebacker, providing scheme flexibility. In terms of weaknesses, though, functional strength lacking, limiting ability to set the edge versus power-based attacks. Inconsistent effort when initial rush is neutralized. He abandons pursuit rather than battling through contact. Explosiveness off the ball fluctuates dramatically between snaps. Rises too tall, creates larger target area for blockers. Pass rush moves are shallow beyond initial attack. Hand techniques underdeveloped after contact without grip, strength, and control blockers once engaged. Best production came in a complementary role opposite edge rushers drawing attention. 4 years of major college without significant mass additions raises developmental ceiling concerns. In terms of NFL comparisons, we compared to Arden Key of the Tennessee Titans. Overall, there are a lot of things to like out of his game. A couple of things to clean up and nitpick on, but I think someone to keep an eye on for sure. Now moving on to defensive tackles. The first one we're going to go over here, hailing out of Florida, standing 6'6", weighing 334 pounds. We got Caleb Banks. So for Caleb, he's a prototype character defensive tackle because coaches and fellow defenders praise him for his leadership and character. He's a team-first nature that could help him be a team captain early in his career. In terms of strength, he has the length of offensive tackle, weight of a nose tackle, explosiveness of players 100 pounds lighter. He flies off the ball. Combined with his speed, it makes him nearly impossible to handle individually. He shows flashes of great hand usage, uses length, heavy hands, can shock linemen before ripping or slinging by. Florida used him in a variety of ways, including off the edge, shows the potential versatility, has the foot speed to match offensive linemen, stretch plays to the weak sideline. In terms of weaknesses, though, he was somewhat an unproven production. While he had 4.5 sacks in 2024, he missed most of his senior year with a foot injury, makes his shock dependent on testing in the Senior Bowl. Expected for a player of his size, he lacks the bend to play on the outside, will likely be relegated to playing between the guards. Pad level will need to be adjusted. He regularly plays too high, allows double teams to drive him off the line. He whiffs on tackles and sacks often, lacks the agility to finish plays. In terms of his NFL comparisons, he compared to Jordan Phillips of the Buffalo Bills. Overall, a lot of things to like out of Caleb's game. Locker room leader, has great character. You know, a few minor nitpicks to clean up on, but I think someone to keep an eye on for sure. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Texas Tech, standing 6'3", weighing 322 pounds, we got Lee Hunter. So for Lee, he's a prototype pass rush defensive tackle because he's built like a traditional nose tackle, operates more like an edge rusher, given a complete bag of moves, lateral quickness to close on QBs. In terms of his strength, surprising movement, skills, athleticism for his size. He was among the biggest winners at the 2026 Senior Bowl back in January. He put up enough consistent wins as a pass rushing force, block shedding aggressor, can surge up draft boards. Scheme versatile with his size to fit as a nose tackle. Lateral agility punch presents a horrific combination for lightweight centers to handle one-on-one. Can work two gaps as a run defender with dominance. Plays low with leverage out of his stance. Produced at a high level over 51 career games. Motor ran on overdrive late in the season. Proves to scouts he can stand out as a 3-down option when the lights are on. Very good lower body strength. Uses long arms. Wingspan just shy of 7 feet. Can make tackles while engaged with blockers. Bull rush rocks back interior lineman. Hunter can counter also with finesse. Even a rip and spin to beat doubles. In terms of weaknesses, though, might be limited to rundowns until he becomes more of a technician. Flashes suddenness at the snap, but inconsistent with first two steps. Can be explosive, but wasn't apparent rep to rep. Long speed's a question. Pursuit on plays away from his area will be topic scouts discuss in one-on-one interviews. Stands up too tall, loses leverage. Feet stop when he tires. Reverts to lean or reach attempts to beat blocks. Has to stay locked in and remain on every down option in the NFL. In terms of his NFL comparison, he's been compared to Derek Brown of the Carolina Panthers. Overall, a lot of things to like out of Lee's game. Can get to the QB, does a lot of things right. I think someone to keep an eye on for sure. So the next player we're going to go over here, hailing out of Iowa State, standing 6'2", weighing 325 pounds. We got Dominique Orange. So for Dominique's strengths, impressive movement skills for his size, particularly disruptive athlete at nose tackle with some speed to power conversion upside. Bulky build without bad weight, gives a stoutness in the run game, forces running backs to redirect lanes, limit gains. Strong enough to direct interior offensive linemen, can create traffic for the offense and navigate. Explosive enough as an athlete that Iowa State began playing him at edge rusher without missing a step. Flash good hand usage in senior year, shows development of pass rush abilities. Terms of weaknesses, though, is shedding abilities behind the curve for someone his size and experience. Never produced much as a pass rusher, has the explosiveness to do so, hasn't put together a plan and executed. Below average agility, gives interior offensive linemen a chance to re-engage. Requires him to occasionally have to beat a lineman twice to get a tackle. He came in squattier than expected with some slight size concerns, but he takes some time to rev up that motor of his. He plays better in second halves than first, and I think that's more crucial since the second half is really where the game's truly won and lost. In terms of NFL comparisons, he's been compared to Harrison Phillips and the New York Jets. Overall, a lot of things to like out of his game. Does a lot of great things here. A few things to clean up on, but, definitely someone that gets better. Someone that doesn't start a game off well, but gets better the longer the game goes. I think someone to keep an eye on for sure. And the final defensive tackle, the final defensive lineman we're going to go over in this video. We have hailing out of Alabama, standing 6'2", weighing 320 pounds. We got Tim Keenan. So for Tim's strength, he possesses a wide, squat, square frame, exceptionally difficult to move at point of attack. Plays with natural leverage advantage, excellent density through the base. Advanced hand technique includes devastating swim moves, two-handed swipes, club combinations, helps him shed blockers with precise timing. Commands double teams with gravitational pull, frees linebackers to make plays. Forces offensive coordinators to account for his presence. Strong enough to make stops without fully defeating blocks. Excels at playing through traffic, controlling gaps. Shows good awareness, reading blocks, diagnosing plays. Quick lateral movements occasionally allows him to gain upper hand on opponents when exchanging gaps or executing stunts. In terms of weaknesses, though, he lacks the explosive power needed to consistently threaten with bull rushes. Relies more on technique and positioning than overwhelming force. Natural leverage when his size, not guaranteed on every snap. Arm length may draw questions from evaluators, though it hasn't prevented him from two-gapping effectively to this point. Won't threaten offensive linemen as a pass rusher due to his insufficient burst off the snap. Pressure's coming through effort and handwork rather than quick twitch athleticism. Ceiling appears extremely limited as impact will largely be confined to early down run defense role. He already carries maximum weight that his frame can support. Raising concerns about maintaining playing shape throughout the NFL. His NFL career of conditioning disciplines waiver, my bad. Projects as strictly a 2-down player, minimal 3-down upside given pass rush limitations. In terms of his NFL comparison, he's been compared to Derek Neotti of the Kansas City Chiefs. Overall, a lot of things to like out of his game. Does a lot of things right, can stuff the run. I think someone to keep an eye on for sure. And that'll wrap it up for this Detroit Lions 2026 NFL Draft Preview. So yeah, quite a few interesting prospects to keep an eye on for the Lions for the D-line, whether it's defensive tackle or edge rusher. As, yeah, there are a few interesting names to keep an eye on here for sure. But yeah, that wraps up for this draft preview. So in the next draft preview, we're going to take a look at some top day 2 linebacker prospects to keep an eye on for rounds 2 and 3 of the draft to see who the Lions should keep an eye on. But that will be for next time. So yeah, that'll wrap it up here. That's all I'm going to say, and I'll see you whatever I make next. I'm out.